Hi all. Today we will talk about the transit of Saturn. Moon sign is key. Slow planets like Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu affect views. The transits on of slow-moving planets like Jupiter and Saturn in relation to the moon help us perceive external factors. House placement reveals perception. Saturn and Jupiter in double transit activate houses leading to events. If the planetary period supports internally the house is strong we are, and through dedication we get to know what is actually going on in our life. When Saturn and Jupiter come together in a double transit, they can activate any house or its lord, which can lead to events in our lives, provided that the current planetary period is also supporting it. This is a very non-fact and is viewed in this way. But when we look at Saturn's transit, there is a sense of fear associated with the house or sign it moves into. Saturn is a significator of sorrow. It brings pain, so it might also bring sadness and trouble in that house. The houses and their lords are fine, but when one planet meets another planet, it becomes much more important. Planetary transits influence events by connecting people and situations. Jupiter, Rahu, Ketu, even fast moving planets. When they meet natal planets, then a story is created. You can understand it this way: one native is meeting another native. One situation is meeting another situation, and one native is connecting with one situation. How do we look at this? Let's understand. This concept is according to Brigu Nadi, as in female astrology. Planets are given significations, and their significations are also used in transits to say what will be good and what will be bad. Let's say I want to examine the transit of Saturn as it moves over my natal planets or any other planet for that matter. This is important because transits can influence various aspects of life, such as personal growth, challenges, and opportunities. Additionally, if I am interested in observing Jupiter, it is because Jupiter's transits are known for bringing expansion, optimism, and sometimes luck. Understanding these planetary movements can provide valuable insights into future events and personal development. If I want to look at any planet, I would say, let's take someone else's example. Let's say that my transit Mars is about to meet my natal Mercury. So I need to know what the significations of Mars are. Mars signifies brothers, specifically younger brothers, and it is also a significator of accidents. If they meet my natal Mercury, then Mercury signifies education and is also a significator for sisters. So it could be that your younger brother joins an educational institution during that time, or it might happen that your sister encounters an accident, or your younger brother and sister might have more contact with each other during that 1 month period when Mars is transiting over natal Mercury, because they are meeting right now. That's fine. So we judge them on 3 levels. One person is meeting another person, and one person is encountering a situation, and vice versa. That's fine. Now, while considering this, we need to keep in mind the natural friendship and enmity of the planets. What do they consider each other? We all know that Saturn does not consider Mars a friend and sees Jupiter as an equal. Then Mars does not consider Mercury a friend. So these basic points are important to remember regarding which transit is happening over which planet. It will be good or bad. For that, you need to see whether the natal planet is stronger or the transit planet is stronger, who will be able to express their thoughts better. Then the third point is that it is said when the transit Rahu moves over natal Mars, if the chart supports it at that time, there could be suicidal tendencies or accidents, but it won't happen every time. The probability of it happening will depend on when the transit Mars aligns with them. Mars and Rahu in Taurus. Mars transiting or forming a trine supports the natal setup. Now, when Mars comes into Taurus, or when transit Mars comes into Taurus, or forms a trine meaning it will be at 26 or 10 degrees. Then the situation being created by Rahu and Mars in the natal chart will also be supported by transit Mars. Now, during that 1 month, we will be able to express this well. Otherwise, if Rahu is just passing over Mars and Mars is not involved in the transit, or if there isn't a yoga in the chart, then it won't happen. Now let's understand what results Saturn's transit can give us over different planets. For that, we need to know everyone's signs. What Saturn as a person, and under such circumstances, gives us, it is Satan, Kal, it is time in itself. That how our time is going. So, wherever Satan goes, and if he finds any planet, he will tell us what is happening in our time these days, what experiences are we having. Saturn represents our active karma, our actions, and it reflects our career. It signifies sorrow, suffering, ailments, and diseases. Then it shows the elder brother in relationships. It indicates house help and subordinates. Saturn makes us do a reality check, and it is also a significator of losses and pain. We have remembered all these things about Saturn. If Saturn transits over the natal sun, then what does the sun represent? The sun represents the father and also signifies the self. Our sun shows us the aspects of aspirational astrology, Saturn and the sun, related to recognition, rewards, government, vitality, and health. So, if the significator of our karma and the significator of pain is passing over our father, who is represented by the sun, so it is possible that the father may have bad health. Will that happen? If Saturn also connects with this transit in its trine, or if it joins in this, then wherever it is, the transit, sun gets involved. So now, the probability regarding health will increase. It means that wherever it is, the transit, sun gets involved. So now the probability regarding health will increase. Either we will get recognition because Saturn represents karma and highlights what we do. Who are we highlighting? We are performing our actions. Whatever work we have done, whether good or bad, we will receive recognition or defamation for it. This is a general statement that the transit of Saturn is good only over the hone and not good over any other plan. Collaboration can occur between family members. Now, there can be collaboration between the elder brother and the father, or between your uncle and your son. At that time, they are working together. They have some deal that is going on together. Association is very close. Or your relationships, especially with your father or your son, show some challenges. What will you experience at that time? You won because what is Saturn? Saturn is a significator of experience. What are we experiencing? How is our time going? So there might be some connection related to the government, good or bad, or regulations, approvals, legal matters, all of these come into play in your life. It could be for the good. I told you that if there are benefic planets in its trine, if Jupiter is in the trine with benefic planets, it means good times. A weak sun in a bad position. Otherwise, they can indicate a bad time. If the sun is weak in the chart and Saturn is afflicting it, then it could be bad. The house isn't considered in Brigu Nadi, but if the sun is weak or afflicted by Saturn, it may be negative. However, if the sun is strong and Saturn transits with good planets in its trine, it can help. So it could be bad. But if the sun is strong, Saturn is transiting at a time when there are good planets in its trine forming conjunctions with it. So it could be a good time. What does the moon indicate in personal and common stances? The moon signifies the mother, the female of life changes in mental state, travel, blame, cash flow, and sleep. If Saturn is passing over the moon, no one takes this well. Everyone says this. This is the time of Sadasati. So what will happen is there will be mental unrest. Reality check is happening. The mind remains tense either for no reason or due to a change in location because there is a change due to work. What's the moon? It's change. The cash flow is coming in a bit intermittently. There is strain in the cash flow. The mother's health is deteriorating. The sleep is disturbed. Generally, Saturn's transit over Venus is considered very good for cash flow. So why is it not considered good for the moon? Because we also need to remember that Saturn does not consider the moon a friend, but considers Venus a friend. Mon Bennett comes, so stability in money is coming. It's not as good a planet as Venus is. Saturn-Venus association or Saturn-Venus association. In these transits, the relationship point of view might not be that great, but it's very good for work. Then they can also disrupt sleep because the moon also shows our sleep pattern. Whose moon is good? They usually sleep well, but not being able to sleep well at that time. Blame can be placed either by subordinates or house help on you, or you can place blame on them. Because Saturn is meeting the moon, this is a reality check. The moon is a reality check. The mind or the female factor of your life is facing challenges in your life. Now let's talk about Mars. What does Mars represent? Mars represents the husband. In women's astrology, they also talk about the second brother and land property. You can also consider the body parts to police and defense. You should remember the body parts linked to the sun and the moon. In terms of body parts, Mars represents the eyebrows, teeth, and muscles. In Nadi astrology, Venus is not considered the significator of the bedroom, and Mars is. And this shows our fighting ability and is also a significator of violence. If Saturn and Mars are transiting, there can be accidents. This means this is the time, because this Saturn is what time it is. To buy property, there can be a bit of a distant and maintenance relationship in the inland or bedroom. As I remember, when the transit of Saturn came over Mars, Mars was also associated at that time. My client told me that during the transit of Mars, for those 2 months, my house help had to sleep with me because I had an accident. Saturn meets Mars. Mars is the significator of accidents and also the significator of house help. Then who helped you? Your house help. Your house help had to sleep with you in your bedroom because you needed them. And then, what experiences can you have? Violence can indicate a defensive attitude. There might be pain in the teeth of the muscles, or the younger brother could be under some stress. Consider promotion combinations. Apply them to the chart for results. And when you apply them on the chart, you will get amazing results. Because this is very important. When one planet meets another planet, this should never be overlooked. You and I are doing an astrology. Who does Mercury represent? Mercury represents sisters, education, friends, speech, skin, throat, and trade, commerce. When Saturn transits over Mercury, where will your attention be directed? I also do some business on the side, or I should study a bit to grow my work. There are some skills that you should acquire. You will feel this is the time to socialize with fans. You should have a little fun because March is the significator of friends and having a good time. Or it could be that a sister is coming out of a tough time. The conjunction of the moon and Mercury is not considered good for skin diseases. If there is a conjunction and Saturn is involved, it can also indicate skin issues. We will all talk about Jupiter. Jupiter itself is a living being. Jupiter represents us. Jupiter represents the belly, the note, the liver, and in the area, it represents the temple, visit, optimism, guidance, and the guru. So if Saturn is transiting over Jupiter, this means that now a significant change will come into your life. You will start getting seriously involved in your work. You will feel like I need to take my life very seriously and work. In style and lifestyle, there is a major change in status. There could be diseases in the digestive tract, in the gallbladder, problems in the nose, and issues in the liver. This will be the time when the right guru or mentor will come into your life. As indicated by Venus, Venus talks about sisterhood, wealth, luxuries, love, intoxication, and married life. This means that the time for marriage has come. There is a good flow of money coming through your profession, property is coming in, and luxury is coming because Saturn has met Venus. Yeah, 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 intoxicating. Let's say in this conjunction, like Rahu acts. This is the Rahu Venus conjunction. Then Saturn meets them. So we can also talk about intoxication. There's a bit of stress in married life because Venus is not very happy, right? With the arrival of Saturn, there are certain things, arrival of Venus. Either the wife has some kind of health issues or she has generally started to feel disgusted with you. Saturn Gar meets himself. This transit is not considered very good. This means that this is the time when you see sorrow, pain, and suffering. Reality brings pain and suffering. A reality check can be good if your karma is good. Remember, Saturn is the significator of karma, good. Now, whatever, this is the time when you become a bit of a workaholic or get really absorbed in your work. Now, this depends upon the sign and the status of the state. Saturn can make you lazy because a good Saturn makes you hardworking while a bad Saturn makes you lazy. This is the time when you will receive rewards or punishments according to your work. If Saturn meets Rahu, then what is Rahu? Rahu is the parental grandfather. It's very powerful. It's about attention and focus. Where our attention is, Rahu is that accident, a sudden incident. There are illusions and hallucinations, and it's the main entrance of the house. I did write this point about the main entrance of the house, but let me tell you what my client told me, and then my attention went towards this. So what will happen? If Saturn is meeting Rahu, then we might look for shortcuts in our work. You can start work that is related to Rahu, or you might experience illusions and deception in your work. When I looked at one chart, I saw that Saturn was transiting over the natal Rahu. What did Rahul say about the main entrance door? He said that during that time, someone was doing black magic outside my house, leaving something behind. Rahu and Ketu also show our family circle. The planets that are within the axis of Rahu and Ketu signify that they are within our zone, within our family, culture. This is also a concept of femininity. And the planets that Rahu catches, while moving through that axis, initially face troubles, but later those significations remain good in our lives, and they meet our family, culture, and traditions. Ketu, which are the planets outside of this axis, signify aspects that are outside of our family's thinking process. For example, if Venus is outside the Rahu Ketu axis, then your wife's thoughts and attitude might be different from the family, or she might not mingle well with them. Something like that could happen. So, because they show our family matters, so whenever Saturn's influence is over Rahu, it can indicate that there is a tough time in the family, like someone passing away, or a critical health issue. Ketu signifies whom? Ketu talks about the maternal grandfather, litigation, disputes, flags, and spirituality. So, what will you experience? You can experience a lot. Litigation, disputes can lead to a focus on spirituality. On the positive side, there is material growth that isn't going so well. We also say that when Saturn is positioned in a certain way, if Ketu is there or if there is a Saturn-Ketu conjunction, it doesn't bode well for work. If your work is related to Ketu and you've utilized that energy, or if there's a sudden change in your work, like a termination, then Saturn Rahu isn't as bad for work as Saturn Ketu is. because it brings sudden terminations. So in this way, we will judge all the planets. For example, who is Jupiter connecting with? If it's connecting with Mars or the Sun, what's happening? The Sun represents our father and our vitality. So, if something related to the government is happening, it signifies something related to the government. It can also indicate gold. So, did you invest in gold during that time? You can keep track of these small investment details in this way. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. You can keep track of these small investment details in this way. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.